one of the most famous fighters of his generation, fighting in one of the famous stadiums in the world. Can you imagine being AJ right now? A lot of pressure too, though. Don't get it twisted. You've got to perform in front of 96,000 of your closest friends.
But mamma mia, Rosie, a social media sensation turned boxer, has turned the sport on its ear. This is incredible. And what must be going through this 27-year-old's mind, like so many members of his generation, dealing with mental health issues. Here we go!
Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua has created major discussion among boxing experts. Most believe Joshua would easily control the fight because of his size, punching power, and long heavyweight background. His Olympic history and knockout record give him a huge edge. Jake Paul has gotten better and has beaten MMA fighters and lower-level boxers, but he has never met a real world-class heavyweight. Analysts think Paul's only hope would be landing something early, but Joshua's jab and patience would take over fast. Many expect Joshua to stop him in a few rounds. While it may attract attention, professionals strongly pick Joshua to win without trouble.
Nikisa, a few times on it. I mean, there's nothing to report to you that it's close, or, you know, there's a lot of hoops to jump through. Of course, AJ is exclusive to DAZN. We also work very closely with His Excellency, and although we have no contract with him, we're in talks for big fights next year, of course, Tyson Fury being one of them. So we'd definitely give him the respect of making sure that he was aware of the plan and, you know, part of that plan as well. But at the moment, you know, there's nothing major to report on that. Would we take the fight? Absolutely. I think Jake would be... I mean, my estimations of Jake Paul would go through the roof if he signed to fight Anthony Joshua, because I just can't believe in my mind that he would do something like that. I mean, Gervonta was a smart one because of his size. Like, you know, I think actually he would have had a lot of success against Jake Paul, but the size is a problem. But this would just be, you know, like if Jake Paul was to take the fight with AJ, you'd really have to maybe carry his balls in a wheelbarrow on the ring walk, you know, because that would be, because AJ wouldn't mess around in there, you know. So it would be huge, but nothing, you know, to tell you it's close.
The fight between Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua is now confirmed for December 19, 2025 at the Casa Center in Miami, with global coverage on Netflix. This is not an exhibition. It is a full professional heavyweight match under Queensberry rules, featuring 8 rounds of 3 minutes and 10-ounce gloves. To balance things slightly, Joshua accepted a weight cap of 245 pounds, which is far lighter than he normally fights at. With both fighters defending their records, this matchup carries serious stakes. A real knockout is possible, and the result will count officially.
Really happening, Jake Paul will face the 2-time unified heavyweight world champion Anthony Joshua on Friday, December the 19th in Miami, Florida. It's going to be an 8-round fight with 3-minute rounds and 10-ounce gloves. It's Joshua's first fight since being knocked out by Daniel Dubois in September last year. Jake Paul won a unanimous decision against veteran Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. earlier this year. Well, Jake Paul said this: a professional heavyweight fight against an elite world champion in his prime. When I beat Anthony Joshua, every doubt disappears and no one can deny me the opportunity to fight for a world title. To all my haters, this is what you wanted. To the people of the United Kingdom,
the boxing world and fans have shared strong reactions to Jake Paul calling out Anthony Joshua. Many feel Paul's plan to face a proven heavyweight like Joshua is unrealistic and far too ambitious.
That's right, the real deal respond to me as I tweeted my thoughts about delusion, which again, I think is more about what Jake said about Anthony Joshua and what he'll do to him. That was the more delusional aspect of this. Amanda Serrano said, at Jake Paul is the truth. Funny, they say he's a fraud for wanting easy fights, then he asked for the toughest fights ever and they say he's nuts. Listen, he was scheduled to fight Canelo, Gervonta, and now he's calling out Joshua. Come on, who else is doing this? Oh crap, on second thought, he is out of his freaking mind, you're right. That was more of just Amanda backing her guy, you know what I'm saying, the co-founder of MVP and someone that...
But Dave Allen has firmly warned that Anthony Joshua might damage his own image by taking a fight with Jake Paul. He says that even if Paul lands one clean punch, It could hurt Joshua's entire reputation. Allen views the matchup as more entertainment than true competition and doubts Joshua would want that risk. He believes serious boxing fans would see the fight as a downgrade and that Joshua could lose respect for facing a YouTuber turned boxer. Jake Paul was beaten by Tommy Fury.
Lost to Tommy Fury. Anthony Joshua cannot box Jake Paul. Horrific. He's dangerous for one, and two, if Jake Paul even lands a glove on him, it just diminishes everything that he's achieved. Jake Paul won't last 2 minutes for me. Never mind Anthony Joshua. It's ridiculous. It's a joke.
If AJ does say yes to going in against Jake Paul, does he harm his legacy?
I would lose a bit of respect for him, and I think a lot of boxing people would as well, to be honest. Why would he box him? 2-time heavyweight champion of the world, one of the best heavyweights the last 20 years, held British boxing on his back. People might say he deserves to box Jake Paul. But why though? Why would he do it?
Did you lose respect from when he fought Ngannou? Did you lose respect from Fury when he fought Ngannou?
Ngannou's a serious fighting man. World champion in the mixed martial arts.
It's a worrying thing, potentially, the damage that AJ could do to Jake Paul.
He'll hurt him. Yeah, Jake Paul is a cruiserweight. You wouldn't put the Midlands area cruiserweight champion in with Anthony Joshua, so why would you put Jake Paul in there? Just because he's a superstar, whatever. I don't know what he does. What does he do? What is he?
A YouTuber.
It's just not worth it. He's got enough money as it is. Why risk all that for a few more quid? I don't like it. I hope it don't.
Since the fight is expected to be a sanctioned contest instead of an exhibition, Roy Jones Jr. has dismissed the idea that Jake Paul could ever become a real world champion, openly doubting Paul's chances of winning a major belt. He says Paul has mainly avoided fighters who are truly proven, and if he steps up against experienced boxers, they would beat him. While he admits Paul might get a title shot one day, Jones Jr. says it would only be under very favorable conditions. He remains unsure that Paul could claim a genuine championship. Will Jake Paul become a world champion?
Paul become a world champion?
No.
Why?
I think if they make him fight tough opponents, guys with experience, those guys will beat him. Now, if you catch somebody like myself at the end of their career, or somebody like Tyson, he caught at the end of their career, the chances are much higher. Because now it becomes more of a 50-50. You got a guy who's better than him, but the age factor. You understand me? And that's the only way to balance it for him to make it a 50-50 fight. Somebody who's on his level at the same age, those guys have too much experience. You understand me? So he's not going to beat those guys. But you find a guy who is past his prime, who has the mentality further than his, but past their prime, it kind of evens.
Anthony Joshua's promoter Eddie Hearn has downplayed Jake Paul's skills, calling him an average boxer. Hearn has repeatedly questioned whether Paul can compete near the top level, especially against someone like Joshua. He says that while Paul has shown some improvement, he is still far below the standard needed to face elite heavyweights.
Good for the sport of boxing.
Yes, I know these guys. They're unbelievably bright. I mean, Logan, much brighter than Jake, in my opinion. But Jake's smart. Okay. Content, we have our ups and downs. Yeah. I respect Jake. I actually respect him in a boxing sense as well. But we fell out because I told him he was average. That's actually a compliment. Like, to be an average fighter, coming to this kid who's 26, 27, decides to go into boxing. We had a conversation where he's actually telling me he's going to beat Canelo Alvarez. And I'm looking around for cameras. I'm thinking, am I mic'd up?
Eddie Hearn also highlighted how Jake Paul has made extreme statements, including claiming he could beat Canelo Alvarez. Hearn sees this as ridiculous and says Paul is completely misjudging his ability. Even though Paul has beaten former MMA fighters and boxers with limited success, the idea of him facing top fighters like Canelo or Joshua is considered unrealistic by most analysts.
Well then, it looks like Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul might be in discussions to fight. They were both on a call to each other earlier, and the viral video went round of Jake Paul saying he would knock out Anthony Joshua. If I'm being completely honest, I think Jake Paul would actually be lucky to make it out alive, and I'm actually being dead serious. I think Jake Paul would be lucky to make it out of the ring with Anthony Joshua alive. Tyron Woodley literally had Jake Paul on skates and had Jake Paul panicking for his life. Imagine what Anthony Joshua would do. Look at what Joshua did to the last non-boxer he fought in, Francis Ngannou. That is not going to end well for Jake Paul. But look, let's be real here. This fight should never happen. It's an absolute disgrace to the sport if it does. And yeah, there's got to be a lot of backlash if this actually happens, because it's actually probably worse to the sport of boxing than what Fury in Ngannou was when it came around, or you know, yeah, or Mayweather-McGregor. Like
Simon Jordan, former Crystal Palace owner and outspoken boxing commentator, has delivered a harsh warning to Jake Paul about fighting Anthony Joshua. Jordan says the matchup insults the sport, arguing that Paul lacks the skill and credibility to be matched with a heavyweight great like Joshua. He feels the fight weakens boxing's reputation and represents everything wrong with the business. Jordan believes Paul would be destroyed in the ring. He also says it puts Paul in danger and lowers Joshua's status by turning a real contest into a stunt.
Talking about welfare, player welfare, here's a situation where someone's welfare should be considered in the equation, not his financial welfare. But Jake Paul going into a fight with Anthony Joshua, to me, is absurd. I mean, Anthony Joshua is a legitimate two-time heavyweight champion of the world. He may have got destroyed by Daniel Dubois, but notwithstanding, there's nothing physically wrong with Anthony Joshua that he can't execute. Mentally, he might be in a little bit of a difficult position after the loss to Daniel Dubois. Jake Paul, if this is not going to be, curated into a little dance around exhibition, could find himself in a way of getting seriously hurt here, like Francis Ngannou did. Francis Ngannou was an MMA fighter that got blasted out by Anthony Joshua. A fitter, more focused Anthony Joshua than the version we've got now, possibly. But this, to me, is everything that's wrong with boxing. It's a money play, nothing wrong. I don't begrudge Anthony Joshua getting 50 million quid for an easy night's work. That's fantastic returns. Most people would take it. From the boxing world, Jake Paul is now a professional fighter. Whether we categorise him as a YouTuber or not, he's licensed to fight, which means that the governing body should be suggesting that this is not a fight that possibly they should be looking to sanction.
Yeah.
But they will, because the sanctioning fees will be enormous. Anthony Joshua will not lose his legacy like some people are suggesting, because no one will remember it in 2 or 3 years' time. If he embarrasses himself in there, they'll remember it. If he goes in and knocks him out in 30 seconds flat, or turns it into a little bit more of a sort of Jake LaMotta, Raging Bull, holding him up for a few rounds and then knocking him out, then people will forgive it. He'll get a big bag of money, which most people in the world would take, and move on. And then we'll see if he fights anybody meaningful in the year. I mean, it is like sport has become. And what I got my head around on Saturday night was the entertainment value of Conor Benn and Chris Eubank. The fighting of itself, I could be all pious about it, but the entertainment industry is so prevalent in sport now. This is entertainment. This is going to have hundreds of millions of people watching it.
Of course.
And Anthony Joshua gets paid, and Jake Paul hopefully gets flattened.
Simon, I know the money's there, but does ultimately boxing get damaged?
Well, I think so. But I think boxing damages itself left, right, and centre. But I think the reputability and the credibility of some of these boxing sanctioning bodies is poor anyway. But I think it does get damaged.
Even if it's an exhibition fight, which it might well be.
Well, then what's the jeopardy in that? If it's an exhibition fight, which it shouldn't be, if it's a proper fight, then Jake Paul is going to get demolished.
David Benavidez has admitted that Jake Paul is one of the biggest draws in boxing when it comes to attention and selling events. Although many traditional fans criticize Paul's skill level, Benavidez thinks Paul's presence adds excitement and financial benefits to the sport.
Guys, I'm Patricia Wong, and I'm here with David Benavidez. What are you looking forward to the most tonight at Bare Knuckle?
Honestly, it's my first time being at a Bare Knuckle fight, and it's already starting amazing. And I'm just here to come to see the gore, the blood, and all that. So it's been living up to the hype.
I want to ask you about Jake Paul wanting to fight Anthony Joshua. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's a good fight. If they can make it happen, then let's do it. You know what I mean? Jake Paul is a big household name. Anthony Joshua, needless to say, he's one of the greatest champions of boxing. So if they can get it done, that'll be a huge fight for boxing. And I say let's do it.
You were in the talks to fight Zabal. What are your thoughts on that? Is it in the works? So when is it happening?
So right now we're trying to negotiate the fight. It might be in the works for September, but we don't know. You know, everything in boxing is not 100%. So we're just going to keep trying to negotiate the fight. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But that's
Veteran heavyweight Derek Chisora has strongly opposed the idea of Jake Paul getting a WBC ranking, calling it disrespectful to boxing. Chisora said real fighters spend years earning their position, while Paul, who has faced unranked or past prime opponents, would be moving ahead only because of fame. He accused WBC President Mauricio Suleiman of sacrificing respect for profit, calling it unfair to the sport. Chisora stressed that rankings must be earned through real competition, not given out for attention.
He have said they're going to give a cruiserweight ranking to the winner of this fight. Do you think they deserve one?
No, I don't think so. I don't know why. It's hard enough for real athletes, for real boxers, to gain those rankings, and then suddenly this Solomon Souza decides to give double ranking because he's getting some greens in his back pocket. No,
Lawrence Oakley has raised serious concern about Jake Paul possibly facing Anthony Joshua, saying it could be extremely unsafe. Oakley, who once sparred with Paul and praised his attitude, now believes fighting Joshua, who has top-level strength and skill, is a dangerous mismatch. Many boxing experts agree. Eddie Hearn called the idea dangerous, while Frank Warren said the size gap makes it a huge risk. Former world champion Amir Khan also warned Paul that he could get badly hurt in the ring with Joshua.
You on this nonsense?
Where am I? I can't see it happening. I can't. Although yes, lots of money, so on and so forth. I can't see it. I just can't. It just obviously as someone who's been a unified heavyweight world champion going in against Jake Paul, it doesn't. Yeah, and it's like I'm also talking from a health and safety factor. It's like he's maybe a cruiserweight. Yeah. Anthony Joshua's a very big, strong heavyweight, and if he turns it on, it's not just a risk of a knockout. It's a much bigger risk. So I can't see it personally.
Former world champion Carl Froch does not view Jake Paul as a real boxer. Froch says Paul does not understand proper boxing and simply moves around without real technique. After watching Paul's fight with Tommy Fury, Froch called it a mismatch and said Paul is nowhere near becoming a real contender.
Take Jake Paul that serious, he can't really box. He can have a little fight, he can have a swing. Swings away, stands up straight and he throws punches, but it's not professional boxing. Because when I watch him box, he's just so much wrong. It's just everything's wrong. It's so bad. He's got leaky defence. He telegraphs his punches. Like you put him in with someone his own size. It was a professional, and it's a mismatch. And you'll see that if he ends up fighting somebody. Tommy Fury, bless him, he's a pro boxer, but he's inexperienced. He's got no amateur pedigree. He's a raw novice, or maybe just above the raw novice. I was saying earlier, where would I put him in terms of levels? He'd do well to win a British title. He's at that sort of level, and then from British title to world level, it's like different worlds, like totally different.
Is it all just? Does he actually believe that he can beat Anthony Joshua? Is it all for clout? Is it all just to keep his? I don't know. I mean, it's a little bit disrespectful as well. Like Anthony Joshua hasn't fucking been a heavyweight world champion, beating all these absolute killers just to get called out by Jake Paul. But look, if Jake Paul believes in himself, then you can't really fault that. Like obviously, but sometimes it comes across as a bit delusion as well. Because I know for a fact that I'd fight Jake, I'd beat him up easy, not easy.
The Paul versus Joshua idea, according to many critics, harms boxing's credibility. They see it as part of the growing trend of celebrity or crossover fights that turn the sport into entertainment instead of real competition. They argue that putting social media stars in mismatched high-pay fights reduces boxing's value and damages its reputation. Instead of testing elite fighters, these events focus on hype, risking long-term harm to how the sport is viewed by true fans.
Paul hopefully gets flattened.
Simon, I know the money's there, but does ultimately boxing get damaged?
Well, I think so. But I think boxing damages itself left, right and centre. But I think the reputability and the credibility of some of these boxing sanctioning bodies is poor anyway. But I think it does get damaged.
Even if it's an exhibition fight, which it might well be.
Well, then what's the jeopardy in that? If it's an exhibition fight, which it shouldn't be, if it's a proper fight, then Jake Paul is going.
Do you think Jake Paul challenging Joshua is a smart plan or a major mistake?